podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced as all things should be. I'm your host, Max Moser, here today to talk about episode 6 of Secret Invasion. I am not alone. I am joined with two other Infinity Bros of the 6 Infinity Bro rotating cast. First, it is the man who's been with me in the chair for the last 5 episodes. It's Infinity Bro Mark. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back. Perfect time. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And he's returned from a 5-week absence. We're glad he's here. He's doing a lot behind the scenes, but we're grateful for him. It's Isaac Edlund.
Good to be back, guys. I put these earphones on and I was like, man, when's the last time I podcasted? It's been a hot minute. So good to be back.
Well, we're glad you're here, Isaac, and Infinity Bros Universe, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. Thanks for making us part of your podcast experience. We're glad you're here. Hey, we'd love to encourage you to check out some other stuff. Join our Discord, check out our social media. Everything we do outside of this podcast, it's in the link in the show notes. So you want to just click down there, check us out, maybe get some merch. We'd love to connect with you and hear your thoughts on this episode as we talk about Secret Invasion, the newest episode of Disney Plus, episode 6, entitled Home. Synopsis reads, all hope for humanity rests on Fury's shoulders. It's directed by Elise Salim, written by Kyle Bradstreet, Brian Tucker, Jonathan Herbspeen. It stars Samuel L. Jackson, Olivia Colman, Martin Freeman getting a credit this episode, Amelia Clark, Don Cheadle, Nisha Aaliyah, Kingsley Ben Adir, Killian Scott, Charlene Woodard, and Uriel Emil. This is going to be a spoiler review, so before we move any further on this episode, I'm going to go ahead and give you a spoiler warning, so don't come back and listen until you've seen the episode. This is your spoiler warning.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
And then we're going to rate some things. We're going to rate characters. We're going to rate moments. We might rate previous episodes we've talked about. So we want to make sure you're familiar with our rating system. We're going to go ahead and put that bumper right here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
All right, Isaac, you haven't been on the last couple episodes to talk about this. Can you give us just a brief idea of where you're coming into episode 6? So episodes 1 through 5, what would be your rating of this show through 5 episodes when you came into episode 6 this week?
Honestly, I would say I aligned with you guys very well on all of the previous reviews that you've done. If you listeners go back and listen to all of the previous review episodes of 1 through 5, I mean, I have listened to these episodes and I basically message you guys in the group chat and say, this is pretty much exactly what I think. I think it started out really strong. The first 2-3 episodes were great. And then, I don't know, man, it kind of lost its way. And these last few episodes, unfortunately, were underwhelming. So honestly, what it kind of turned out to be was every other Marvel Disney Plus show, which is kind of sad to say, but yeah, I really like the premise and the tone of the show. I think if I could sum all of my thoughts up in like a phrase, it would be missed opportunity, because they had something that was really cool. They had something that they could have done so much more with, but they tried to cram everything into this 6-episode format that they've been using for Disney Plus. And it just, I don't know, it didn't work for me, honestly. Do you guys want me to give me my rating for?
You might as well. You've taken us this far, Isaac. Just go ahead and give us your rating.
I think for the finale episode, I would give the episode I'd give it a 4.75 out of 6. I think it was solid. There was some stuff that they did really well, but also kind of just turned out like every other Marvel finale. Like, you're left on episode 5 wondering, how the heck are they going to wrap this up? And they do, but not in a really super satisfying way. So 4.75 out of 6 for me for the finale episode.
Mark, I'm going to give you the option. Do you want to go next or do you want to go last?
I'll go next. I could literally just plagiarize everything Isaac just said. I also give it a 4.75 out of 6. I
Nice.
I know Max will probably give it a 4.2. That's kind of been our things. He
We've been
gives a
like, but we've been like a half rating behind
yeah,
each other
and
the
you're
whole
always a little
time.
bit lower than me. So I'm not surprised if you're giving it lower. But I would definitely say I probably wouldn't say it felt like it was getting iffy in the last episode, but this episode definitely to me didn't land the plane. The landing gear went out, it crashed a little. Everyone's safe on the plane, but it wasn't a top-notch landing, in my opinion. I thought the final. I feel like we talked about it. Like we kind of predicted this fight scene would happen, where it's two Super Skrulls fighting, and of course, and then freaking spoilers. They just like, oh yep, I'm just gonna Kamehameha through Gravik's chest, and that'll be the end of it. Doesn't grow back. Oopsies.
Mhm.
Like when we got that scene where um Nick Fury's like, yeah, I just want you to leave the planet. You can take it, but just leave the planet. And I was like, oh, great. This is going to be a great ending. And he'll go off planet slowly. He'll still be a villain down the road. But nope, didn't do that. At the end of the day, knew who the villains are? People.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be a way lower rating than you two, but I'm gonna echo a lot of things, but I'm gonna be way more critical. Probably, it sounds like. No, this is on par with WandaVision. This is pretty bad.
No.
Wow.
This is 2 out of 6 for me, guys.
2 out of 6?
Yeah.
Holy cow. I was
Here's
not
my thoughts.
expecting
Here's
that.
my thoughts here.
Who hurt you? Did you have a bad day?
I think
Nick
it's
Fury,
ridiculous that
apparently.
Gaia got all those powers all together and she's just walking around now. I think that made no sense. That doesn't connect to anything that's done in comics. They shouldn't be making new things for the sake of making new things because they have so much at their disposal that will create better hype and can create better opportunities. I think Gaia as a character herself was fine without the powers. The powers are unnecessary and ridiculous, and it creates this really big problem now, Mark, that I don't know how Marvel's going to solve that problem. Like, is it just to create
What's your problem? Tell us the
I think the
problem.
problem is having essentially the most powerful character. She can do Doctor Strange, the Hulk,
Ebony Maw.
uh Ebony Maw, sorry, Ebony Maw. She can do Ebony Maw, the Hulk. She can do Drax. She has
Thanos.
all these Thanos. She has
Captain Marvel.
Mantis's powers.
Rounder.
She has Captain Marvel's powers, who essentially
Captain
Captain
America.
Marvel's like top
Thor.
3.
Groot.
She has Winter Soldier. I just think that's ridiculous that they did that. I think it was completely unnecessary.
Did she also have Quicksilver? Because I feel like there's a scene that either she got small faced or ran
she
with
had Ghost. She had
Ah,
Ghost.
that's who it was. Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
I was thinking, like, did they get Quicksilver's blood too? But that would have been like a
Yep.
long time ago.
It
But
said, I think it said Ghost on there.
okay, I missed that.
You know, Ghost wasn't in the Battle of Earth, but my assumption is they got her stuff from Ant-Man and the Wasp, the movie. I just think that battle and the CGI was dreadful in that scene. I was like, here's where
I
this
don't know.
money came.
You go see the Flash movie. No
Sure, the
CGI. Like
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
always compared to modern CGI. It's like nothing can be that bad.
Sure. Yeah, and you can go hear our Flash review. We have reviewed that movie, by the way, so I would encourage you to go check it out. No, I think that was ridiculous. I think Nick Fury called and said it's time. That was a huge buildup at the end of episode 5. There's nobody that shows up here, guys. It's Gaia, but like that was so paint by numbers.
Captain Marvel was going to show up at the end of this. Like I really
did
like,
too.
Like
they did Captain Marvel without Carol Danvers.
We're gonna see the nukes being launched, and like right before, like, oh, they're gonna blow up. Like she like grabs it and like chucks it into space. Like that's what I thought was gonna happen.
This was a great moment for Carol Danvers to be part of this. This made complete sense. And Carol Danvers' character, this is an aside. This has nothing to do with the show. Carol Danvers needs to be lifted up and propped up because the public perception of her is really bad right now. To get back to the show, they really, really, really pivoted on Fury and Priscilla's relationship, which I liked. I'm okay with that. But my problem in the grand scheme of this show is the Secret Invasion story arc is way better than anything we got on TV today. They built up so much in those first essentially 4 episodes. They built up this is going to be a big problem down the line. And then what do? I mean, even in the closing scenes, the president decides, and we'll talk about all this, but the president decides we're going to kill all of them. And then people are going around shooting all these Skrulls that were like in hiding in these prominent spots. Instead of letting them stay there and letting them show up later, they killed them. They didn't let anybody hang around but Gaia. They didn't let Kingsley Benadier hang around, who Gravik was the best part of this episode, guys. His talk with Gaia was we'll talk about all this. I'm so disappointed in Disney Plus. I'm so disappointed in this. The only thing that Disney Plus has given us is The Mandalorian. All these Disney Plus shows have been botches. Loki too, because of what's happening with Jonathan Majors. That's the only reason. Like, Loki itself was good, but because of Jonathan Majors, that is essentially not going to work now because his life is probably going to ruin how great that final episode was. I think these shows are officially a miss. I'm now in the camp that we need to remove those completely from the canon. I would agree with Bob Iger's assessment. I think it has ruined Disney. I used 3 weeks ago, I was like, no, you're just making crappy stuff. But at this point, I'm like, he's kind of right. I think they need to get back to just movies and let it be. And I think this is a great example. The first 5 episodes were there, and they gave us 35 minutes, guys. 35 minutes. $212 million. I'm done with it.
I'm shocked the budget was 212 million because it definitely did not reflect that in the show. Like
That final
I feel
episode
like,
probably got 100 of it.
yeah, probably. Yeah, there was more CGI in that one fight than there was pretty much probably the whole series up until that point. So
it looked
probably.
clunky. It looked clunky. So I appreciate that they tried. There's some things they do here that I'm like, cool, that'll be good. And yes, technically they're still out there. So Mark, you and I have said for 5 weeks straight, like they could do something later. We've always assumed that, but this like, might be a worse drop off than WandaVision because at least with WandaVision, I can point to the other episodes, as you know, episodes 1 through 8. That's tremendous storytelling. There were things in those episodes that I'm like, I still hold on to. I don't know what I can hold on to in this. The Rhodey stuff I can't hold on to. I can't hold on to Maria Hill. They kind of built it up the whole time, Mark, as if she might come back. They were building that up. Like they wrote all these things that they did what WandaVision did. They said it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, and it was none of it. It was just nothing. And I'm kind of getting done with that with Disney Plus. I'm like, show me your stop. Like, I think that's why I like She-Hulk so much, because at least She-Hulk did weird stuff, and I was like, oh, I like that.
Well, and there's been multiple people pointing out on the internet that we had She-Hulk, and in that finale where she kind of goes meta and like explains the whole finale formula episode, guess what we got? We got basically that same exact formula that she explains in that episode in this finale. And it's like, yeah, I guess I mean, we keep saying that superhero fatigue is not a thing, but it's hard to refute when companies are putting out stuff like The Flash and all of these Disney Plus shows. It's like, man, this is just not good product. So there's not necessarily a superhero fatigue. It's bad product fatigue more so. Like, if you make a good product, it doesn't matter if it's superhero. It doesn't matter what the genre is. If it's a good product, people are going to like it and people are going to go to it. But yeah, you just put out stuff like this and guess what? Nobody's going to care about it anymore eventually. So that's a bummer.
Mark, anything else about the general? I mean, we'll talk about some of this stuff. We'll rehash it.
Like, touch on that. It's not like it's bad product. It's not bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't like call it bad straight up. And I wouldn't even say this is the worst Disney Plus show.
No, I don't agree with that either. Yeah. It's not the worst Disney Plus show. Miss Marvel's worse.
Yeah. It's just not the level that they have been creating, movies and things up until end of whatever phase 3. When was it Endgame? Was that the end of phase 3?
Phase 4.
Phase 3.
Phase 4.
Like
up until that point,
leading up, or the end of phase, or the end of Endgame was phase 4.
Yeah.
Phase 3. It was the end of phase 3.
The level of quality that we're getting with these projects just has taken a hit. And you like you said, Max, I mean, Iger said it, that there's so much content out there that, I mean, when there's so much product out there, eventually the quality of the content is just going to basically
you're
dilute.
I
gonna
don't know.
have to
I feel like that's just a
Right.
scapegoat to like lead the masses to when they start making less. This is where I believe. I think Bob Iger is in a position where he knows what's going to happen with this writer and actor strike, that he is grooming us audience members to show us, oh, we're going to probably have to pay these actors more, but know what's going to happen in the long run. We're going to make less things. And know what I'm
Fine.
going to do? I'm going to tell you I'm going to preempt it and be like, oh, this is what's probably going to happen. So then when it really does happen, you're not blaming Bob Iger for that. Bob Iger already told you what you should blame for it.
No, here's where I won't ever let Bob Iger off the hook. Disney Plus was Bob Iger's baby. Disney Plus was what Bob Iger was like, we will do this before I leave. He made everybody do it. He did.
Yeah.
Go back in history. He was the guy that he saw what Netflix was doing. And Disney Plus was a good idea, but COVID hit. And so that took financial hits for everybody. And then all the bad product stuff we're talking about kicks in. And if every Marvel show had been at the level of Mandalorian, heck, if 3 of these shows had been what Mandalorian is, where it was like, and I think people point to WandaVision, I point to Loki. I think Loki was that, but Loki has the misfortune of Jonathan Majors, just his life got in the way. But that was always a threat to Marvel, in my opinion. Like there was going to come a point with Marvel where somebody was going to, Chadwick Boseman died, or somebody was going to have like a life thing where that it pushed them off the map. And it was like, okay, we have to either replace them or we have to find a way to write them out of this story. And
I mean, that's a risk with any project, though. I feel like that's not
not with a
Marvel
creative universe,
specific
a shared universe is what I mean. When you have a shared universe where Jonathan Majors is so important for Kang Dynasty, that's where it's different. I just think where Secret Invasion really dropped the ball, Mark, is you and I were like, okay, we walked through this every week for 5 weeks, cautiously optimistic. We were like, okay, we guarded ourselves. We were like, okay, we're going in with low expectations. And every week we felt like they're doing some cool stuff here. And then they totally were formulaic, and like Nick Fury just rides off into the sunset so he can be ready for Marvels. It's just wow.
Yeah, like I really wish, like, this is what I always thought these shows should have done. You don't end on a happy note with these shows. You end with a big cliffhanger to like, and that's what going back to the original formula.
That's what
of
the movies did.
You basically slingshotted us into, and like movies like Captain Marvel movie. It didn't like create an issue, but it basically like, hey, this person's gonna show up. It like gave her back. It basically was an origin story in a sense. But yeah,
and
that's what these movies should always.
Post credit scene.
Yeah,
Her post credit scene is
and we didn't
she
get a
shows up
post
right
credit
after
scene
Endgame.
at all in this series.
Mark, you stole it from me. How do you not have a post credit scene for the Marvels after this? How do you not have that?
Because it's not like you had Nick Fury be like, I'm done, I'm quitting, so like that's how we're gonna end it. It's literally like, nope, we're going back up to Saber and we're gonna hold hands and make love.
Oh man, yeah, you're stealing the words from me, Mark. This is a terrible episode. This is one of the worst episodes in all the Disney Plus shows.
Invasion should have ended.
It's actually rated on Rotten Tomatoes as the worst episode of Marvel television ever.
It's in my opinion, it's the worst too. It's just behind the WandaVision finale to me, because the WandaVision finale had such a like, we're about to go bonkers, and this one just this felt like just a counterpunch. Okay, Fury confronts Gravik at New Skrulls. We know this is Gaia. She gives him the harvest and asks him to spare Earth and conquer other planets. Gravik. Now, this is what I'll say about this episode. The Gravik stuff here, guys, is really good. His communication of like, I'm going to kill them because you didn't honor a 30-year request. I'm all in. I was like, I'm buying this villain. I'm totally in. If he survives this and a Secret Invasion overall story happens, let's make him my leader. I am all in on that. And then he uses the harvest. I want to double check everybody on the harvest real quick.
While you're looking into that, I do want to make a comment. Like, I liked this scene a lot because it kind of redeemed Gravik in this show for me, because they started out really strong with him the first like 2-3 episodes. Like, he was this cold, calculating, like he was basically, intelligence wise, like Fury's like counter, person. He was like 2 steps ahead of everybody. And then all of a sudden, episode 5 was the one that really threw it off for me. like Gravik just goes off and just kills half of his people, and like he just becomes another like angry bad guy. And this scene where he's talking to Fury does bring it back to like, okay, yes, Gravik does have a plan instead of just I'm angry and I'm going to go kill everybody type
Well,
of thing.
he had to kill everybody because they were trying to overthrow him, and he was power hungry. Like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's this like his motives are understandable, which is what
Oh,
we
sure.
want.
Yeah, his motives are understandable,
he's
but
still a
like
villain.
the cold, calculated dude from episodes 2 and
Yeah,
3
yeah.
wouldn't have had to kill anybody. He would
No,
have
he
been
would've
like,
known.
he would have been like, here, I've got this in my back pocket. So if you guys don't follow me, guess what? And then they would have
Sure.
done.
Yeah,
But
that's
instead, he has to get angry and kill half of his people to get everybody else to be on the same page. And it's like, okay, well, yeah,
Here's-
you're not quite as scary as you were in the first half of the season.
Here's the complete list of characters that were in the Harvest. So Abomination, that's why his ears look that way.
Mhm.
Black Panther, Captain America, Captain Marvel, the Chitauri, Corvus Glaive, Drax, Ebony Maw, Gamora, Ghost, Hulk, Korg, Mantis, the Outriders, Proxima Midnight, Thanos, Thor, Valkyrie, and the Winter Soldier. So, Mark, you were right. Thanos is on that list.
Mhm. And then they also
Ghost
had
is on that list.
And from the previous one, they have the Frost Beast, Extremis, Groot, and then Colosseum too. So,
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, I just let's talk about this. Like I said this in my review, I think this was the worst decision that I think has been made to date in all of the MCU. To have somebody that essentially has every power of every major hero is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. There's nobody this refers to. Like, am I off base here, guys? Like, am I just thinking they're writing themselves into this corner where essentially this is just a super Skrull version of Talos? Like that's all this is. They got rid of Ben Mendelsohn. They just did the same thing we had with Talos and Nick Fury and made it female. Like that's all they did here. But they gave the female this massive power surge. So anybody that has feedback about how female characters are being written to just have powers automatically without earning them, we're getting that argument once again here with Gaia.
Well, this is what's interesting. Like I agree with you on that. Like the whole sentiment on that, where it's like she was just given this to earn it type of thing. But it'll be interesting. Now I'm bought in to see what they're gonna do with her, because you're right. Like, are they building up that like, hey, maybe our next villain's gonna be Galactus, so like they'll need someone like this, or are they gonna is her thinking like, oh nope, I'm gonna go off planet, but then what's her name like basically recruits her at the end too, so it'll be interesting. But anyways, coming back full circle to this, how she kills Gravik is how basically you could just had Captain Marvel fight him at the end.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about that.
Honestly, like
agree.
it kind of seemed like the writers maybe wanted Captain Marvel, and Disney was like, we don't want to pay Brie Larson a lot of money to do a cameo in this or something like that. So they're just like, let's just make Gaia do it. Let's make Gaia do it.
But then you're like coming back to it, it's like giving Gaia all these powers. Like, what's the pardon
What's
the pun?
the point?
What's the end game?
Yeah, what is you made the point earlier, Mark, of like, oh, we've been conditioned the opposite way to assume that Marvel just is so intelligent and so far ahead of everybody else that they clearly have a plan here with Emilia Clarke. I do not buy that. I do not buy it anymore. I'm done with that. When it comes to the shows, I don't think they have a plan, Mark. I think they're just leaving it there.
We've been talking about Skrulls in the MCU like on our podcast for years. Like
6 years.
We thought that Marvel had a plan for Skrulls in the MCU for years and years and years. And here we are now finally at Secret Invasion, the penultimate like show that Skrulls are the big thing.
Well,
here we are. And it's just like, oh yeah, Rhodey. Okay, well, yeah, basically everybody knew that even before all of this, but nothing. Like they couldn't show us one other person in the end scene, like when they had all of the people down there.
Agreed.
They pulled that guy's like shawl back, and it's just a random dude. Put somebody important there.
Yeah, put
somebody important.
somebody from Wakanda.
That's
there.
what that
Agreed.
would. Oh, I'm like flat. I'm so flustered with that because you're right. You can just put like someone like who would be important right now, like the Sam Wilson thing. Could you imagine if the Shaw gets in Sam Wilson? You're like, what the hell?
Bonkers. That would be bonkers,
Yeah,
man.
and
Like,
that sets up,
wild.
and that
And then,
sets up,
and then you don't talk anything, and then you just have this hype across the internet for
And guess
days,
what?
years.
That hype probably elevates my score from a 4.75 to like a 5.2 or something like that.
Or
like,
even having like Colby Smulders
that
be
alone
down there too. I mean, Maria Hill.
Yeah.
Like that's another one. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have had Betty Ross from Hulk.
Yeah.
You could have put. There's so many people.
Or like, what if Wong was down there? What if that was a reveal? Like we're like,
Wong, oh my gosh,
and so we have to deal with that. Where it's like Wong's the
yeah. I totally forgot about that. We totally had like during was it She-Hulk?
Yeah.
We're like Wong is a Skrull.
You could have put Wilson Fisk there. You could have put. You just could have put so many people there.
Oh, and then
in this universe,
with when Rhodey's discovered there, do we think he can't move his legs because
he can't move his legs? Yeah.
But are you sure though? Because they did a lot.
Back to that.
They did a lot.
Come back to that. I got questions.
So
Mark,
like,
I got questions about that. No. We gotta chill. We gotta keep going here.
Chill.
Let's
I can't.
We're coming back to Gaia. Gaia and him fight. She Kamehamehas him. This is the question I wanted to ask you guys. If they replace this with Captain Marvel, is it a better episode? Mark?
Yes
or no?
100%.
I think so too. Yes.
Because Gaia still has the power, the other powers, but it's like, anyways, yeah.
If you're gonna kill Gravik, then I don't.
Because I don't like having Gaia with all these powers. That's my opinion.
I disagree with that, honestly, though. I like having a Super Skrull in the MCU. I would have way preferred it to be Gravik, an actual villain, but I do enjoy that we have one. If you keep Gravik alive, I would have liked to see Captain Marvel come in here. But if you're going to kill him off, I guess I would like to see a Super Skrull in the MCU.
I'm not convinced Gaia could be a villain still. I still think there's a chance she could pull out being the person.
Well,
Emilia Clarke could pull it off. Yeah, she'd be a great villain. So.
Kill them, and basically what's happening is people are just killing random, like, because that's an end scene where it's like a real human just gets killed too because of action. Yep. So that's probably what will lead to, I think that whole issue will lead to Brave New World with Captain America.
Yeah, I think Brave New World is going to explore that. At least I hope they do. But again, Mark, I can't count on that anymore. There was a time where I could. I can't count on that. Rava successfully convinces Ritson to authorize a nuclear strike. So Rava is the character that is posing as Rhodey. She's tricked by Fallsworth into arranging for Ritson's evacuation as she attempts to retaliate, but she's killed by Nick Fury in a standoff. Ritson eventually calls off this strike. This is all happening during the fight that we've talked about, so we're going to move on. This allows Gaia to free Gravik's human prisoners. So you got Ross, you got Rhodes. So Ross is still alive.
That's it.
So now here's the two questions I had for you.
I come back to this.
Was Ross a Skrull in Wakanda forever? That's the question I have.
I think he was.
I think he was too.
Yeah, I'm on the board with that.
And I think that's why he was really nervous with Julia Ray-Dreyfus's character.
Yeah.
And I think that was the clue in that movie. Personally.
Mm-hmm. I would like to know if this whole place was radiated so bad, how are these people still alive?
That was the question I was going to say after I asked about Rhodey. I mean, you are just Mark. Come on, Mark.
It doesn't
make any sense, dude. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Did the tech keep them safe? I don't know.
Well, that was my thought. It's like, why are you unhooking these people when you literally showed us on the screen how much radiation is here? Where it's like, is the tech keeping them safe? So don't unlock them until you know you can get them out safely.
Yeah, terrible writing. That's terrible writing, guys. That's not. This isn't like, oh, we're gonna let it go writing. No, this is like they're literally sitting on a nuclear power plant. They're sitting on Chernobyl. Like, come on.
And that's where I want to come back. Now I want to talk about the Rhodey thing. They left it so ambiguous where it's like, because she says you've been here a long time. I was like, well, how long is that? Why he can't move his legs? Because he has.
I totally thought they were gonna give us more clues to that because they were leading to that, Mark. They were like, wow, you've been down here a long time. It's just
Well, the
like,
other thing
What
is,
is
like,
it called?
okay,
What is it
okay,
called
how
when you-
long?
when you've been
This
bed for so long? Because that's what I thought he had. It's like he just hasn't walked for years.
This would be Civil
Right.
War then, right? Like this
Yeah.
would be
Yeah,
Civil War.
well,
Mark.
yes. If
So he's got the
if-
hospital gown on. That was kind of my
I didn't notice
thinking
that.
that it's Civil War, because in Civil War, obviously he's going through
Yeah, Isaac,
like all of his scans,
Your audio is super loud. Just remember.
all of his scans and stuff like that. So
Getting hyped. Okay, I did
He's
not.
excited. He's
I
excited
did
guy.
not
I love
notice
that.
the hospital gown, so that would make sense. Never
yeah,
mind.
so he's wearing a hospital gown when he gets rescued. So that was when people were thinking, oh yeah, that's definitely Civil War.
And it
To
would
me,
make
that
sense.
makes sense.
So that
It
means
would make
Rhodey has
sense,
to
too.
experience his friend's death.
Yes, that's Mark.
Oh,
Again,
yes.
oh my gosh!
in that movie,
Oh.
he's going to grieve the loss of Stark. Like that totally is what they're going to do. They have to.
And okay, does that make this placement of a Skrull that far back, does that make that better or worse? Because I've seen a lot of backlash on social media about that. If he doesn't experience that, I mean, obviously, like you said, he's going to have to be grieving Tony's death in the future of the MCU. Do you guys like that, or do you think that is
That means Endgame and Infinity War. Rhodey was a Skrull the whole time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh
Right.
my god! Oh my!
This is
Oh
guys.
my.
This is why I think there's a chance Sam Wilson could still be a Skrull,
But
because
hang on. Well,
because
why?
those two were linked at the hip throughout those two movies.
But
And
now
it
I
would
want.
also yeah, I don't know.
Why, I want to know why. Did Nick Fury do this? Has Nick Fury? Did Nick Fury be like, you got to replace Rhodey? Because like that's the whole thought of.
No. Nick Fury.
But like,
Nick
what was it?
Fury-
Because this is pre-blip when like S hit the fan.
He didn't know.
Yeah,
I-
Fury figured out that Rhodey was a Skrull in this
I-
series.
Okay,
Like,
that's right. But then like, well, why at that point? If we were kind of led to believe that they didn't start like taking over people in high powers until the blip, why were they doing that pre-blip? And like
I
really
think it was
pre-blip
just
with
a
Civil
lot
War.
easier during the blip because it was mass chaos. Like before that, they had to be really strategic and work their way up and stuff like that. I feel like when the blip happened, it was like a free for all. I bet like
Yeah, it was a
Skrulls just
free-for-all.
replaced as many people as they wanted at that point.
So, Mark, here's something we've been talking about. Peter Quill on this show. I think we're I feel actually pretty good about this. We're one of the few. I'll say few because there's probably somebody else out there talking about it. We're one of the few podcasts that continue to go back to Peter Quill's still on this planet, and he's coming back. Ritson, after all this happens, issues a bill. By the way, he turned really heel really quick, Mark. Like he turned into a big jerk real quick. I really thought at the end we were going to see him turn into a Skrull. Like there was a part of me that's like, he got away and even Rhodey didn't know, and he was a sleeper cell for another.
I'm just okay. Coming back to like the bad writing, I just got this just popped in my head.
Yeah, go for it.
If Ritson was like there with Nick Fury, and Nick Fury's like, oh, Skrulls, blah blah blah, bad. Why was there no communication between them? Be like, hey, don't kill the Skrulls. Some of them are good. And instead of that, Nick Fury's like, I'm going back.
Ritson.
No. That dude is like, you know what? Not my problem. I'm going back to Saber.
That's Nick Fury.
Isn't that Nick Fury in a nutshell though? He just goes, does his thing, and then he just pieces out. He's gone.
Oh, you can use my job back? Can I go back to Saber? Oh, your problem now, Skrulls. That's how I felt.
Ritson issues this bill declaring all off-world species are hostile forces. So he threatens to hunt down the remaining Skrulls, and this causes the unrest. We talked about people, shooting Skrulls and shooting other
Guardians.
people. My question to that was it. As Guardians, does that mean that the United States is going to hate them moving forward?
Probably.
And does this mean that Peter Quill is going to get hunted down in the United States?
He's not off-world. Technically, he was born on the world.
He was, but
he was kidnapped.
Are they going to look at him as an off-world alien?
Well,
and is that going to be the setup in his movie? Though, is what I'm saying. Could his movie be a spy espionage buddy cop thriller where he's teaming up with? Put whatever character you want there.
That's too good of an idea that it's not happening because of Bob.
Yeah, you're right. At this point with Marvel, there's just no way. Sorry, I shouldn't have even asked the question.
That is a glorious movie I want to see. With a glorious setup to at least have
who I want him to
have
tag
some
team
remedy from this show. but it's too good. I
You
hope
and I
Eddie
talked-
Feige hears us, but it's too good.
Last episode we talked about him and Shuri teaming up because like all of Wakanda is Skrulls. Here's my new fun idea. I want him. I want him and Scott Lang. That's what I want. I
Oh
want
my
him and Scott
gosh,
Lang on the
that
run.
would be hilarious.
I want a Scott Lang down to earth, and Scott Lang is like scared to death of Kang, and the only person that believes him is Peter Quill.
That would be actually really interesting.
I really
Like
hope
a serious movie with those guys.
And those two are the least equipped to take him on.
Oh my gosh.
I do hope that
That'd be
they do treat Star-Lord like the Hulk in movies, where he's just like, I don't need him all the time, but like at least he just comes and like helps out type of situation.
Yeah, he shows up, right?
Yeah, he shows up like Grover 2.0.
Fallsworth
You
meets
know,
Guy
you know.
and Fallsworth meets Guy and proposes a partnership to protect the Skrulls against Ritson's bill as they find more pods. And after cautioning Ritson about the unrest, Fury leaves with Vara, and then they make out in front of the. This episode sucks,
Two
guys.
things.
This episode
No,
is so stupid.
you had the
So
opportunity
dumb.
to just reveal like, oh look, it's Captain America. And then Fury goes on a ship, and that's how it ends. I'd be like, a 6 out of 6. Hell yeah.
This show,
God.
man, I couldn't. This show was not for me. Disappointing. I have been let down yet again, and
Hey, know what the president
Darn.
started? Assassinations, mass shootings because of Skrulls.
yeah, nothing like
Yeah.
leaving the planet when there's a big race war happening on it, right? Like there's just like Nick Fury totally caused this race war. It's his fault, and he's just like, you know what, Vara? Let's go right off into the sunset. And Marvel was like, that's a good idea. That'll set up the Marvels really well. The Marvels is gonna suck, guys. I'm just like calling it now. There's no way that movie's good if this is what it's jumping off from. I just don't see it happening now. I'm expecting it to suck now.
How poopy they've done villains. That's
I
my
think-
big concern.
Eamon Vellani can be the savior of that movie because I think she's phenomenal.
I highly
as
doubt
Miss
that
Marvel.
because she is in the worst show ever made for Marvel.
And she's a mutant.
She couldn't
It's
save
not
that
like
show.
a
She
human.
couldn't save it. It's not her fault.
No,
Not
yeah,
her fault.
I don't think that was a good show, but I think she is going to be in the MCU for a long time, and
I hope so.
I think she could make it at least tolerable for sure.
Not if Bob Iger has anything to say about it.
Yeah, Bob Iger's a clown. This is all his fault. This is ridiculous.
Hey, at
Okay,
least
going
you know what?
back to
End of the day, we're gonna get Deadpool 3, and that's gonna rock our socks off, and that's what
That's
all
true.
matters.
But here's the thing: all the movies that are rocking our socks off at this point. I mean, Spider-Man. It's essentially based off of previous things. Guardians of the
Nostalgia.
Galaxy 3. It's
yeah,
based off
Deadpool
of
3 is
previous
going to be a
things.
huge nostalgia pull.
Okay,
That's all
and-
it's gonna be.
And they talk about previous Marvel movies. Thor: Love and Thunder was a fun movie. Did it hit all?
Mark,
Did it hit all things? No. Did it have?
Yeah,
good
it was
story? But it's still
good,
fun.
but
But
yeah,
it wasn't.
fun. I'm with you.
I
but,
get what you're saying. Like we're now at a
Yeah.
point where it's like we want at least good storytelling.
Yeah, we
We
gotta get
wanna
back
be
to what
entertained,
made
but we,
Marvel
like,
good.
I think what we enjoyed with the first 3 movies, there were some stinkers in those first, series of movies, but at least the story like pushed the plot. What we haven't had here in the last phase is plot pushing. It's just kind of been like, oh, this happens. Hey, we're gonna do a movie that's 3 years in the future. Then we're gonna come back and be like right after the blip, and then we're really not gonna talk about. We're not gonna really try to intertwine everything. Everything's just happened on its own. Like we're going through a big emotional crisis right now. That's what it seems
You
like.
just said a lot of things there that are really right. I mean, Disney
That's how I feel.
really has abandoned things that got them where they were. So, for example, I was listening to the Snow White actress the other day, and she's talking about her and who's playing the
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot are talking about the prince isn't going to save her, and she's saying she's going to realize she's the leader her dad tells her to be, and that's all fine and dandy. And I'm not speaking against women being in leadership. What I'm simply saying is the original Snow White story, what got Snow White to the pantheon of pop culture of its time, was that story. And you can't abandon a quintessential piece of your story for the sake of a political agenda and or trying to change the narrative.
I mean, you can. You just can't expect it to be good.
But that's kind of the point I'm making here is I think Marvel is doing the same thing now. They are abandoning what got them to where they were, which was, you nailed it, Mark. They left a thread every time at the end of every movie for the next movie to just pick up and go. There's no threads. It's just a gobbledygook because Kang Dynasty, that's the whole point. It's a bunch of gobbledygook put into a soup against one guy.
And maybe that was their intention, but like you said, with Jonathan Majors being in hot water with a ton of stuff, it's like maybe that's no longer. And maybe they're going to hear me out. Maybe this is why Deadpool 3 is being pushed to come out earlier. Maybe they're going to retcon some stuff.
I'm assuming they're going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have faith anymore, Mark, that Marvel has a plan for the next thing. I've
pray
lost
for you.
faith in Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige, I appreciate your service. You're
Daddy
great, but
Feige.
it might even be time to consider the next person. Like, I'll go that far. I think this is just getting out of hand, guys. This is like, if they couldn't handle it during COVID, then they might need, like, it's a doggone travesty that James Gunn's gone. They were wrong.
Oh man, I'm with you 100%. I was thinking about this other day where it's like now that you say like you should have had Kevin Feige step aside or like go up a level and like kind of just be more consultant and have James Gunn take over. I think he would have been perfect for this. He would have been on the path like, yeah, it's gonna be me. We're gonna I'm sure Feige's done this and like oversee everything, but I'm gonna get a group of directors. We're just gonna stay solid and we're gonna get this whole phase done and move from there.
But I look at like Greta Gerwig, who just did Barbie. And if you want to hear my thoughts on Barbie, we're going to do an episode on it. We also do a Patreon, and I gave a non-spoiler review on that. But like Greta Gerwig just wrote an incredibly dense political satire about feminism and the patriarchy with Barbie. And it didn't hit with me in full way, in all the ways. But I will say this, it was incredibly well written, and it's a Barbie movie. It's a Barbie movie, guys. Like, how can Marvel, I think of Ryan Coogler and what he did in that first Black Panther and his dialogue about just culture with people of color and how T'Challa just stood right opposed to a feeling that a lot of people have. A lot of people have what that villain had in that movie. And he wrote a character that stood in the face of it incredibly well and courageously. And Captain America. And I think these heroes that they built on, they're not getting back to it. They're abandoning the key points of these heroes. They don't need to be the same people, but they made Thor a fat guy and then they made him an idiot. And I just don't think that played, guys. I just think they're doing the same thing to Hulk. They're abandoning what got them there. And Disney now will have to pay the price. And I just think there's other options for Marvel. I think there's other ways. I don't buy it anymore. Not buying it. And their female characters are not earning the right to be the hero. They're just being given it for the sake of being given it. And that's really hard for me because Captain Marvel to me is a great hero. She did earn it in that movie, but the full audiences didn't feel that. They didn't feel that. Miss Marvel, they didn't feel it in that movie. I think with Ray, they didn't feel it with her. I don't know. And it's weird to see this movie where Nick Fury just sits the whole time.
He's an old man. Sam Jackson's old.
We're seeing
got hip problems.
like, I mean, we've talked about it a bit over the past year. We're seeing just a general interest decline in superhero movies. I mean, and we have The Flash that only made like 200 million. You know, all these superhero movies, like box office numbers are receding, and Barbie's gonna make $1 billion. Barbie.
I mean, Ant-Man made 108 million on its opening weekend, guys. Like, it's still, these movies still have power.
It's not,
movies still
right.
got power.
It's not like it's dead. It's not
dead. It is not. No, I agree.
DC movies are dead, Isaac. That's what you really mean to say.
But you're making a great point here, Isaac. You're making a really good point. You're making a point too of like, look, Marvel still owns this. They're in charge.
Yeah, they're in charge.
Dogs.
If Barbie can make $1 billion, you can reinvent the wheel a little bit and start making
I agree.
Good content that is going to make a lot more money again. Like,
Barbie's kicking the crap out of a Nolan movie right now.
A
lot of people think this is the best one.
Well, it doesn't help that Oppenheimer is rated R. Like, that's always going to hurt you in the box office.
Right.
And I
for
think
an R-rated movie,
it's Nolan.
it's
Nolan.
Yeah, but it is Nolan. So like he's got that.
Phenomenal.
But that's where I go back to, like, I think we'll see a big tick in ticket sales with Deadpool 3. But that's pulling nostalgia with it too. But I think that will be a $1 billion movie,
if
regardless
they
if it's good or not.
if they don't let Deadpool 3 be a Deadpool movie, people will go ballistic, guys. They'll be devastated. That will be the end point
Well,
for a lot of people.
If they make it PG-13, the shtick will have to be it's like he always reacts when he gets bleeped out.
No, it has to be R. I think
I know, but like that's your only saving grace is you because he's supposed to be, like he did it first in a sense. Well, actually, anyways, skip that. What I was gonna say, but yeah, Deadpool's gonna have to be self-aware if they make it PG-13 that he always comments when he gets bleeped out. So
It has to be R because Wolverine needs a true R-rated movie.
he got it with Logan. Did you not see Logan?
No, he did, but I'm saying he needs a like joint superhero movie, not the
Ah.
futuristic. That's its own thing. That movie is its own thing.
Shut up, Mark. I was trying to make a point here.
Mark, I don't know if you've heard this, but it's called the multiverse. Okay, so then,
What?
just
What?
at this stage, at this juncture, because I feel like this conversation will happen until the end of eternity. What has been to you the biggest nail in the coffin for Disney? Has it been Disney Plus, Jonathan Majors, or just going with certain characters that are just aren't a hit, or something else that I'm
Are you
missing?
saying
Isaac, what do you think is the biggest?
Disney in general or like the MCU? I'm confused.
What's the problem with the MCU? What's the biggest thing that
I
you're going
think
to look
it's
back on
their
right now? At this
honestly,
moment?
I think it's their choice of delivery for their content, because what we found is that these 6-issue miniseries are just not a good way to deliver a full story. Like they're trying to cram so much into these tiny, and these episodes are 30 minutes maybe, like we go to like She-Hulk and they're less than 30 minutes. Like very short episodes, like if you're going to do that, just make a movie. Like it didn't work. Secret Invasion was kind of obviously we have Loki season 2 coming out later this year, but like Secret Invasion, they must have made, I don't know the schedule of filming and stuff like that. I know a lot of the Disney Plus shows got filmed kind of at the same time during COVID, but they must have known that these shows were not doing well by the time they filmed Secret Invasion. So I don't know, man. Like that's the biggest thing for them to me is the format of the delivery of because their characters are great. Castings have been great. I really enjoy all of the castings and the characters that we're getting. We're just not getting good stories for them. The origin stories are not engaging and people have not been enjoying them. So
Isaac, can you tell me the best show on ABC right now?
On ABC?
Mm-hmm.
No, I cannot tell you.
I'm making more of a point that like I don't think ABC knows how to do television right now.
Oh, right. Okay.
I mean, it's Grey's Anatomy. I'm looking at their list of who's there right now. The Rookie, Grey's Anatomy.
Tell you.
A Million Little Things was terrible. I've watched that. Justified, which is on FX, is really good.
I haven't watched a network TV show for a very long time.
But I'm kind of I think that's kind of my point. What We Do in the Shadows is really good. I know people like that a lot. Archer technically is under the ABC umbrella.
And you made the point earlier that like they can make good content. Mandalorian is a good show.
It could be the best. Like, some people would say it's the best show ever.
It's not like they have not put out anything good on Disney Plus. They have good content, but they just gotta figure it out.
I think my opinion on the shows, especially with the Marvel, is if you're gonna do 6 or 8 episodes in this realm, you got to make it at least 45 minutes, if not 50 minutes.
You got to make it count.
Yeah, make it count. Then it gives more, I think it gives you more room for better storytelling. But if you're going to go to 30-minute or like the 30 to 22-minute route, then you give us 12 to 15, maybe 18 episodes.
Right.
Like treat it like traditional cinema or traditional TV. Not just
we'll
like
see if they've learned from that, I guess, when Daredevil ends up coming out, because that's 18 episodes, right? Like
if they ruin Daredevil, dude. Episodes. If they ruin Daredevil, that's just gonna be.
I really, really, really hope that they've learned from
I don't buy that they have. I am dreading Daredevil. I am dreading it right now because I just don't trust them.
That I don't like about it, honestly.
I don't
But
trust him.
I would say I would go back to what Isaac kind of mentioned is I think this should have been a movie.
Yes.
This would have been better served as a movie.
Yes.
But maybe their
Totally
thought was
agree.
like, oh, people won't want to come see. Then they would definitely be like, instead of Guy getting all the powers, it has to be Brie Larson or Captain Marvel that shows
Yeah.
up. So
So what were you guys' ratings of the full season or the full series, Secret Invasion?
I mean, now I'm going to put it at a 3 out of 6.
Max is just being irrational and emotional right now.
That's
But-
just how he does things, Mark. You
I
know?
This
would get-
show, man, this show just like, it's like WandaVision, though. It's just like, how do
But
you,
you gave
build up for
WandaVision a
that?
2, right?
Well, I gave it a 2 out of 6. It's not worse than WandaVision. I alluded that it could be at the beginning. I don't think it's worse than WandaVision, but I do think 3 out of 6 is fair. It's in the middle for me. It's right in the middle. I'm
I
not
would-
calling it bad, but I'm not calling it good.
I would still give it a 5 out of 6. I think overall, like, it's still, as a show, it was entertaining and it did tell a good story. Did it end the way I wanted it to? No, and I should probably judge it
That's not.
exactly
Oh,
my
stop! Don't.
expectations
That's
of a
not
show.
what I'm saying. That's
I
not
shouldn't.
what I'm saying.
I'm not. I'm giving my opinion, Max.
Okay, well,
not
don't
your
allude,
opinion.
Don't allude. Don't say it that way, because that's not
Well,
what
Max
I said.
is dumb with his opinion because he's emotional. No, I just think like
Right.
I always go back to our good old friend Scott when he's like, you guys, you specifically me, the Infinity Bros, ruin, like, let your expectations run wild and it ruins the experience for you. And I was like, he's right. It
No.
definitely has done that, and it's definitely done it with one of the people in this group.
That's
Max
not
Mosher.
true with this. No, that's not true.
You've never let your emotions and how we've built up how an ending should be, and then it doesn't go that
WandaVision,
way.
that happened 100%. Do
Yeah.
not even.
WandaVision. I'm
not
saying
even
I'm
deny that.
not refuting WandaVision. WandaVision was
But
different.
to
though.
say
We were
it's
all
a
trapped in
3
our
out of
homes,
6.
and I had
It's-
string on my wall, and I had all these newspaper clippings that had nothing to do with each other.
Mephisto was
And I
like
was-
written
And
on
I
the
was
walls.
I
Like,
only
throughout the
smoked when I
house.
was in that room. Yeah.
Oh,
No, I just
That's great.
I
That's
really,
great.
really think, Mark, like, there's so much buildup to they're the ones leading me. They're the ones saying, look out for this, look out for this, look out for this. And they're not giving us tangible answers. I'm not looking for the massive splash panel of every Marvel hero fighting in New York City against Super Skrulls. That's not what I'm looking for here. I'm just looking for a cohesive story. Isaac, I would agree with what you're saying. This could have been done in 2.5 hours. Build up Emilia Clarke a little better. Throw her on the circuit with Nick Fury. You could have definitely pulled in Brie Larson at the end.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. This was.
I think my rating of this comes down to a 4.5 out of 6. I think the tone, actually, I really enjoyed the tone throughout the show. The last 2 episodes just honestly sunk it for me. It was a pretty good show up until those last 2 episodes. Then they just had a hard time landing the plane, which again this is every show we talk about this, where they build up this and we're like, how the heck are they going to end this in a good, satisfying way?
And they don't.
And they just haven't been able to figure it out, honestly. Like,
it's not good.
It's a little disappointing. So underwhelming, but I still think overall it was decent. It was solid. Samuel L. Jackson does a phenomenal job. And I love the, like, kind of, there's a lot of people I saw online complaining about how it's boring, and I did not think it was boring.
No,
I did
it
not
wasn't
think it was
boring,
boring at all. So yeah, I thought they did a great job. Just weren't able to pull it all together.
And for the record, I never thought it was boring, Isaac. I will say that too.
I know.
The
I
first
never.
5 episodes were
listening
not
to you
boring.
guys, you
No.
guys were pretty pumped about the first 3
Yeah, we liked it.
episodes for sure.
We liked it a
so.
lot.
Yeah.
We liked it a lot, but then they sucked at the end. Also going to Barbie and seeing Kingsley Ben-Adir in there versus his role in Gravik is incredibly they're complete
Shocking.
opposite characters. They're completely opposite people. It's hilarious.
Okay, that's one. Also, sorry, I don't even know if I mentioned this before. That's another thing that I hated about this finale is killing off Gravik was just like, come on, like this is exactly what we would have expected.
When Robbie watches the show, he's gonna be livid.
We called
Yeah,
all
you will
this
be.
at the beginning, Mark. We said this was all going to happen. We said she's going to fight him at the end. He'll kill her. she'll have these powers, and Nick Fury will use her as Talos when he dies. We said that episode. We literally said all this episode 4,
Yeah.
and it happened. Except we didn't have him making out with a Skrull in the final scene. And I gotta tell you,
Didn't call that one.
with Mark on our podcast, I'm a little upset that we didn't.
I'm actually surprised I didn't say it. Are you sure about that? We may have to go back to the records.
We'll have to go back in the archives.
Go into
Rewind
the-
tape, yeah.
The quote Max one last time. The anals of the Infinity Bros.
Oh gosh.
There's one time it was an accident.
Was it though?
Well, I'm hard to tell. Were you in my brain? Did you put me in the scroll machine and
Maybe.
replace me?
Maybe I'm a
Maybe
scroll.
it
right
was
now.
a scroll. Maybe it was Scroll Max.
Skrull Max. Max Skrull.
Max Scroll. Well, Mark, thanks for coming on and chatting about this. It was awesome doing this season with you, and hopefully there will be a better version of this storyline down the road.
Well, I hope that happens soon. Sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
Can't wait for that
And
show.
Isaac, thank you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
You didn't bring the vibe down. I got to tell you.
Good.
Were you worried?
I just want you to know,
Were
if
you
you were worried about that, I want you to know you were a great addition. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Infinity Bros Universe, wherever you listened, however you listened. Thanks for making us part of your podcast experience. As we talked about at the front end of the show, you can check out all the things we talked about using our link in the show notes. Connect with us. What did you think of this? Are we wrong? How emotional am I being? Shoot us an email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you guys later. We love you 3000, and see ya. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Infinity Bros. Feel free to send listener feedback via email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.